Hello everybody. How are you guys all doing today? We'll give everybody a minute. Hopefully you're having some nice weather. It is beautiful here. Hey Carrie. We got outside today. The girls ate their lunch outside, which was amazing. Hi Rosie. I am doing great. I did a little bit of baking earlier, so I got that done and sat outside for a little bit. Hi Jennifer. Hi Linda. So I think spring is finally here. Hey Lorraine, how are you? I think you guys are getting ready for your SCT weekend this weekend. Sounds very fun. Who else has some crafty plans for the weekend? I don't have anything specific I'm doing, but I'm sure I will do something crafty. I thought we would make this tag today because sometimes mixed media looks like it could be difficult. Oh, I'm on the big screen today. So exciting. But really, if you follow a fairly simple process and just think about your layers, that's all it is. Kind of layering things over top that will go over top. And we've even got some of that glitter kiss. Thanks, Jennifer. So I am going to move this stuff out of the way. And we'll get out our jelly plate, because that's always fun. Do you guys have a jelly plate, or have you played with it at all? Thanks, Lorraine. Yeah, it's not hard to do something like this, and you can change your mediums around that you use. So this is my jelly plate. I wiped it off, but I didn't clean it, and it's totally fine. Hi, Debbie. And I know some people put theirs away and they've got paint all over them, and it kind of comes off on the next layer. You have a couple sizes, Carrie? Yeah, this is the 5x7. I think a bigger size would be really fun. I know lots of people have the little smaller one that you can do some neat stuff there. Hey, Christy. So this is the tag we're doing today, Christy. We will get out. I usually have just an extra. This is a piece of cardstock, but it's something that I can put anything messy on. If I don't want to have to wipe it up, or you can just use a piece of typing paper. That works well as well. When I was playing around with this, the first one I did kind of turned out like this, and it has the blotches of these Shimmer Shakers. And then I felt like I wanted it a little bit different. I wanted to change a few things up, so I ended up layering a layer of clear gesso. Yeah, it is fun. So a layer of clear gesso, because a lot of times I like to put that down even if I'm doing some of those gloss paints, the gloss sprays. I find that it just gives me a nice base, or if I'm using some re-inkers, then it just seems to make everything move a little smoother, but you don't have to. Like, just if you don't have some clear, you can use matte medium or gesso, or if you use a white gesso, then it's going to have an opaque finish. And if you don't have it, just try it without and see what you get. So what I did was kind of just put a little bit on. You don't need a lot. This one is the Dina Wakley Clear Gesso. And I usually just have, it's not really anything that's big for cleanup, just a rag and a water bottle really. Then I've got a brayer, and this one is a 4-inch brayer, and I think we may have gotten some of the brand new ones that Tim Holtz was using or demoing. Maybe, I don't know if those are in the shop yet. So that's all I do is kind of, I'm not pressing hard, I'm just pressing lightly to move that around. Thanks, Rosie. And there's still some on my brayer, and all I'm gonna do, because I have an extra piece of paper that we can use to blot up ink, and you totally don't have to do it. I'm just doing this because it's on my brayer. And we'll set that aside. So we've got our layer of clear gesso. Then these Shimmer Shakers are a watercolor powder. And we've got a bunch of different colors in the store. Now the Sparkle Shakers are different. Those are glitter. And the Shimmer Shakers are the powder that changes color like the watercolor powders. So I just kind of put on a little bit in various areas. So that is the Denim Dash. You can do lots of fun things, and I've used these in a couple of the previous lives. This one here is Dusky Mink. Oh, the new Tim Holtz brayers are in the shop, so you might want to check that out if you need a new brayer. And I know he was using those with his inks and found that they worked really well. So I am going to get one. A pure gold. Hi, Julie. So for anybody just popping in, this is what we're making today. A pretty mixed media tag, and I'm just kind of walking you through the layers. So these are the Shimmer Shaker powders. So that's all we're doing. We're just shaking a few over top, and then we're going to spritz with water. So you can spritz a little bit or a lot. They just kind of start moving around. They're not going to move too much because they're on the jelly plate and we've got the clear gesso down. Then I have just some plain white cardstock tags. This is actually a little bit thinner than the paper I usually use, so this might be like a 60 or an 80 pound. Hey Tamara, how are you? So I'm just going to layer this in here. Just kind of let it soak. So you could either use a pre-cut tag or you can use something you've cut. And we've got some color on this, so I'll do this a couple times. I'm going to dry this right now a little bit. And we don't need to dry it all the way because we're just kind of partially drying it to set that. And then, yes, I know, Virginia, the jelly plate. I'm just dipping it in to get the layers. Sheila, you barely missed any. I'm going to walk you through what we did. So I took the Dina Wakley Clear Gesso and just used my brayer and put it over the jelly plate. And we talked about the Tim Holtz, the new brayer that he showed, and that's actually new in the shop. Then we sprinkled on our Shimmer Shakers. I've got the Denim Dash, the Dusky Mink, and the Pure Gold, and spritzed it with some water. That's really all we've done so far. And then we dipped our tag in twice, and we're just drying it, and this is what we're working on today. So you're still good. So I'm gonna dip this just a couple more times just to get a little bit of, now these Shimmer Shakers have some really beautiful shiny mica flakes in them, and they're really fine. So once it's dry, we'll be able to see. Oh, no problem. Thanks. So we'll give this another little dry. So I'm just gonna dab off the really wet areas. I'm gonna leave this for a second. I'm also gonna give you a tip about flattening out your paper. Then we have this, and you could definitely wipe it off, or you could go in, we have this paper that we set to the side. Just dip in some extra papers and some extra tags. When I die cut this flower, I actually went back to some old gloss spray demo pieces that I did and just die cut it out. So, you know, you can get some really cool backgrounds. You can die cut lots out of this. You can see the really cool pieces of powder that come up. So you get a different effect every time that you do it, especially if you just partially dry in between. Like, how cool is that, hey? And then those little pieces of mica in there look really neat. I really like that effect. You don't have to get it all up. Just kind of get it how you feel like you like it. I kind of like that. Sorry about that heat gun, but we kind of can't do it without it. So yeah, those are just some really cool dips, and then with the remaining, I'll just stick in a manila tag and just kind of blot it up. So I think that's part of the fun of doing stuff like this, is you do have your main project that you're doing, but then make sure that you have some extra paper. You can just have some copy paper off to the side too, or some scraps of white cardstock, and you end up with these really fun backgrounds that you might decide you want to use next time. Now you could wash this off at this point. I'm gonna wipe it because I am gonna rub my oxide inks on it, and I don't want them to get a whole bunch of water or powder on. So I'm just gonna give that a wipe. Or you could just rinse it off, but I think that's good enough. Okay, so this is our white tag at this moment, and let's actually dry this just a pinch more. give you a tip. So I've got this mini mink machine, which are on sale right now in the store. I know there's a few left. So all you do is you plug it in, and I usually leave mine off because it heats up really fast. But if you have a laminator or you have a mink machine, this is kind of a neat trick to when you're creating those mixed media card fronts. I'm always kind of trying to twist it so that it lays out flat. And so you just switch it on, or maybe and then I've been turning up to 3, and I've really been liking this for laminating, but I thought, you know what, I think I can use this because I've heard a couple people mention that they use theirs for flattening out. So we've got a little bit of warped, which I don't mind a little bit of warped. It doesn't really bother me. But if it makes it easier than trying to kind of stretch it and move the paper, this just feeds through. So that won't take very long to heat up. It's really, really quick. There, it's hot already. When it's hot, the little green light actually comes on. This is the carrier sheet that comes with it. And I just figure if you have one of these that you use for foiling anyways, why not get an extra use out of it? So then before we go further, I'm actually going to color our ribbon so that that can dry in the meantime. So I have this luster polish. This one is the Raspberry Sorbet. And we've kind of played around with this the last few classes. Oh, thank you, Rosie. Yeah, 6 inches wide. I have used the long card fronts that come with the deco foil, the transfer foil card fronts, the slim line, and they go through. It doesn't matter how long, it just keeps pulling it through. Okay, so that just went through once on number 3 setting. And you can see it's much, much flatter. So I could run it through again if I wanted to. I will run it through after we do our next step, especially with this sheet. This paper's a little bit thinner, and so it would tend to warp a little bit more, but I used it with this, which is 120 pound, put it through, and it just makes it easier to work with, I think. And then I would just turn it off because it heats up so quickly. I wouldn't leave it on while you're not using it. So this is just some seam binding ribbon. I don't know, I had a roll of it that I've had forever. And the luster polish, just pop off the top. I actually haven't rinsed my cover out, and I noticed the other day it was just a little bit dry, and all I did was spritz it with some water, and it actually, I didn't have to wash the whole thing out. It got soft again. So when you're taking it out, you're just kind of rubbing it against the side to get some on there, but we of course don't want that much. Then we're going to rub it flat across, and you've just got lots in the sponge. And then we're just coloring our ribbon. So you can do it as light as you want. We could leave that a pinky color, or we can add more of that ink. And you don't need it perfect because we're actually going to add some water to it. There is awesome sparkle, and you can really see it once it dries. So then I'll just turn it over. And this is easy to clean up with water, so you don't have to stress about cleanup. I think doing this on a piece of paper makes it a little bit easier, unless you wanted to, again, like drag your tag through it or something. All right, so we've got that covered. And I don't know if you can see the sparkle in there, but I can already see the sparkle, whoops, on the ribbon. And this is what it's gonna look like once it's dry. This is just seam binding ribbon. So this I'm going to crinkle up. It just comes in a big roll, Jennifer. I think maybe I got it from Amazon or something. So I just gave that a little spray with water. And I'm just crunching that up and setting it to the side. So probably set it on something so it doesn't get any dye on anything. And then you can just wipe that up. So that can dry while we're doing our other things. Then, let's see. Okay, so this micro glaze. So yeah, and if I think about it, Jennifer, I'll look and I'll send you a link if I remember. So the micro glaze, Tim Holtz was using it the other day, and I thought, oh, I think this would work for what I want to use. And I've had this for years, but I know Sandy still has this in the store, and it doesn't dry out. It looks pretty much the same. You barely use any, so it lasts forever. And I actually took one of these little sponges and popped it onto the end. I just keep this sponge. So what I do, you can get it off of here, is this is just one of the Ranger sponges, and I put one of the little adhesive Velcro pieces from the dollar store, the circles, and then it sticks on there. And I know this one is my dedicated micro glaze. So the micro glaze can seal in any water-based inks or markers, and it also creates a resist. So in order to get some on, you can rub it on with your finger. Since I'm going to put it over a stencil, that's why I thought it might be better just to use the sponge. So all I'm doing is putting a little bit on with my finger on the sponge. You're really not going to be able to see what you've put on, so you just kind of put it on, and if you miss a few spots, that's the great thing about mixed media, is that you really don't have to stress about it. And if you have, I forgot to bring mine up, but if you have some pixie spray that holds it nice and steady, I might grab some washi tape just because I forgot to grab that. So, just because I do want to kind of put that, apply it a couple times, and I don't want my stencil to move. And you won't be able to see it, but if you just pay attention to where you've added it, then you'll be fine. And like I said, this is mixed media. It doesn't matter if things aren't perfect. So I've got that little bit of micro glaze on there, and all I'm doing is rubbing it over the surface. So I'll probably do like, it actually goes quite far. I am pushing down, but I'm not like pulling hard. I'm more just doing circles. So I'm going to add a little bit more, just because I want to make sure that I do have that resist on. So I don't have it gobbed on, I just have enough that it's soaking into the sponge. Thanks for linking that, Rosie. So I'm just covering it. And I wasn't even sure if it was going to work because I couldn't even see it, but it did. So let's hope it works. Okay, so that was a tiny bit. We put it on, and that part's done. And then I'm going to just wipe my fingers off. So after, I will go back after and wipe off my stencil, but all I really did is just spray it with water and give it a wipe. So it does evaporate. All right, we've got the micro glaze on there, but it stays like it's going to be fine for a bit. Then we're going to go back to our jelly plate, and I've got the Distress Oxide ink pads. So this is Kitsch Flamingo. So if you didn't have the ink pads and you had the sprays, you could just spray them on, but I kind of liked the layers of the ink. And all I'm doing is just pressing firmly and pulling that ink across. So this one is Dusty Concord. And I'm trying not to really overlap because I don't want to contaminate the color. It's just beside, I mean, it's not gonna do too much. And this one is Seedless Preserves. But you wouldn't want to go over the whole color. And if you do get into another color, I find just wiping it a little bit off onto the side or a piece of paper, you'll be fine. Okay, so we've got our 3 colors there. Now I'm going to spritz it with water. So you can see that oxidation happening right away. So I want it enough where it's really beating up, and then we're just gonna lay the tag in. And I'm pressing it in so it can soak up that color, but I do want the differences in colors, so I'm not gonna pull it through. But there's lots of different techniques you could do with this. So here you can see, you'll be able to see a little bit more, but you can see that color only went where the stencil was. So in the areas that the microglaze didn't get on, that's where our color went. And it's very faint up here because we have just that light Kitsch Flamingo. So then we'll set this aside for a second, and we can go back. Let's take a different piece of paper actually, and we'll just dip it in and use up that color. So like, how pretty is that, right? And every time you dip it, you get that just cool effect of the watercolor. So then we have another background that we can just set aside. And once that dries, I'll run that through the laminator just to straighten it and flatten it out. And that used up pretty much all of that color. And I'll probably just rinse that after, just so I don't make a mess next time I touch it. But really, you don't have to do much cleaning. I think part of the fun with the jelly plate is getting those layers and different colors peeking through. All right, so let's dry this. turn on the laminator again just so I can run it through. But that's, you can see that stencil, those outlines, it just created a really cool effect. And by heating that, you could actually then ink over it and the resist part would be gone, but it still wouldn't move any of those colors underneath that were sealed. So it is like here you can see I actually used a little bit more of the darker purple in the center. So it's a little bit darker and you have a little bit more defined image. I think just, you know, depending on how you want to do it. I'm just going to run this through the laminator. Okay, then we have our little pieces that we're going to start adding on. And adding some stamped images. We've got some little stamps that have designs on them, and those are great for doing any kind of mixed media or any backgrounds. They just add a little bit. Okay, we'll just, that's almost through. There we go. And then you have this nice flat surface again to work on. And then you have your laminator out, so if you feel like you want to foil something, you could go ahead and foil it. All right, so I'm going to do just some outlining with a pen. I just have a black pen, just a fine pen. And your lines don't have to be perfect. I think this just creates a neat effect. You could do dash lines that are kind of like stitching if you wanted. You could also go around the edge and you could add some distress ink around the edge. We are going to do a little bit of stamping. So I have this stamp in the stamp press, and this is actually from this Mama Elephant stamp. It is so adorable, and I know Sandy got them back in, so they're restocked in the store because they had sold out. It's the Mammoth Love stamp set, and it has so many cute images. We did a card with this before, but I liked this sentiment. So, you know, looking through your stamps and finding some sentiments that you like, even if you're not using the stamp set, is a good way to use your sets. And I pulled out some archival inks. There's a 4-pack that you can get, and archivals are great because they're waterproof. And you can't use them for coloring with Copics, you have to remember that. But they're great if you want to watercolor, or if you want to use them on a mixed media tag that maybe you want to do some splatters. I want to do a little bit of splatters over top. So you just want to make sure that you have something that is not going to run. If you stamped with Distress Oxide on this and then did some splatters, you could get a little bit of running. So just to be aware of what kind of ink is always helpful. So this one is the black. I'm just going to press this down. I like the font on this as well. And we'll move this and then do our other little stamps. So I've got these little stamps. These were from like a magazine or something that had Wendy Vecchi stamps in them, and These are great, I think, just to pull out anytime you're doing this kind of thing. So this as well is in that ink pack, and this one is the vintage photo, and I believe there's another brown that's in the package as well. So we'll just stamp a few different areas. And you're just layering. It doesn't, you're probably going to cover up a lot of this. And then this one is the hickory smoke. And it's a really nice soft gray. So it shows up nice, but it's not super dark. And you can see it didn't even fully stamp there, and it totally doesn't even matter. We'll just stamp a little tiny bit on the end. There. So we've got our stamping and our outlining with our pen, and you can see those layers are just starting to build up. So then we are going to, we're going to stencil something, but I want to make sure that I have my flower on. So here's the flower that I die cut, and this is just from a Sizzix Tim Holtz flower, one of his flower die cuts, and I used one of the tags that we did with the gloss sprays. Oh, sorry, Tamara, where do you get that ribbon? I think I might have got it from Amazon, and I'll double check. It's just a roll of seam binding ribbon, but I'll check for you. So I'm gonna glue that down, and the sticky specs is actually really great for that. So we got that back in. It sold out twice, and then we got it back. And this big sheet, I've cut a piece off. I have used this for I don't know how many lives, plus used it for my own projects that I've made. There's still lots left. And this is the A4, which comes in the large sheets, and I can't remember how many sheets are in the package, but there might be 4. It'll say on the description. And then there's a smaller size pack as well. So there's 2 different sizes of packs in the store, and they're the little micro beads of glue. You can kind of tell there where I've pulled some up depending on the die cut I've put in, but you can reuse. So even though I've already put something into there, there's still lots of glue left, and I can put something else over top. So especially for little fine, smaller die cuts and words, I think this works so great. Essentially, you're just creating a little sticker, and then you can use some tweezers, or this is I've really been liking this Tim Holtz craft pick, and then you just pull it up. And I can feel that needs a little bit extra glue on the end, so I'll just stick the end in a different spot. And then we can, as long as you don't press it really super hard right at first, you can position it and you can move it if you need to. And once you get it there and you press it down, then it's pretty much not moving. So there's our die cut piece on there. Okay, then we're gonna do our stenciling with this Glitter Kiss. So the Glitter Kiss, this one is the lilac, and we used, I think, rose copper or something in the previous time that I did it, or used it in a live, but Glitter Kiss is a glitter that is suspended in some type of medium, and you can put it onto your paper and use this sponge again, and it's great for lots of different, we did all kinds of different applications for it. So when you're using it with a stencil, I'm going to lay my stencil on, but I just want little portions of the stencil. So I kind of liked that this had little dots and stuff. The same way as that luster paste, you're going to pull the glitter towards you, and it dries so quickly. That's the nice thing. I think I answered. Sorry, then the comments, after I scroll back, the comments do not come back for me, but I think we're good now. All right, so when you do use this through a stencil, you first pull it one way, and then you pull it the other way, and it kind of just keeps layering on and building up that glitter. I don't want to let go of that. Again, with the pixie spray is a great thing to add. And you don't want a whole, you're not adding it like a paste. I guess you could, but you don't need to. It's just adding a layer of glitter that dries so nicely, and then you have a glittered effect. So there's the stencil. There's a bunch of different colors. We'll add a little bit more over here. We'll just do this little area. And I'm just kind of moving the sponge around and putting it back and forth. Let's see, I think I only did 2 areas with it. We could probably put a, you know what, we'll do a heart up there. So I think that's good. You can even use this just to brush on some glitter, and it glitters your paper. If you wanted to add just a little bit directly on there, and you can do the same with that luster paste. So we've got our glittery accents, and that's going to dry nice and quick. So if you have things that are similar, if you have these things, just get a bunch of things out and start playing. And when you're doing mixed media, like a tag or something, you just want to think like, what's flat, what's going to go on first, and that will help you decide how to do those layers. And this washes right off with water, so I'm just giving it a little spray and a wipe, and you really don't have to do too much more than that. You can, if you find you're getting a little bit of glitter buildup, you can just run it under your tap. Then we're going back to the luster polish, because you can stamp. You can stamp with the Glitter Kiss as well, just by doing this same technique. So we've got the little tiny hearts. I love it when stamp sets put little accent pieces, because I think they're great for if you're adding, if you're doing like little calendars or planner pages, or just want some little areas to fill in. Little stamps are great for that, especially hearts and stars. So we've got 2 little hearts here, and we're just gonna pick them up with our little stamp block. So again, I'm just getting a little bit on that sponge, and I'm tapping as if this were the ink pad. I'm just tapping it onto the stamp. And then you're pressing it on and you get this really neat stamped image. So we'll do that in a couple areas. And when you're embellishing, if you do stuff in threes, kind of groups of threes. So, you know, I have some stuff up here and I have some stuff here and then here. It kind of helps your eye, that triangular effect, in case you're not sure what to do. We could add, we'll just use the big one and add the big one there, and then that will just wipe off with water as well off of your stamps. And I'll give them a little spray, but I'll just wipe them after. They're going to be totally fine. Also, with, let's see, I have a little paintbrush here. You can use this luster polish to do some watercoloring with. So if I add a little bit of water here and get my paintbrush wet, then I can pull out a little bit of the color. You can't really do the watercoloring with the glitter kiss because it's the colored glitter, whereas this is the actual paint, has mica in it and is shimmery. So it's just different effects. And then you can go in and color. So if I want to take a little bit more and just mix that into the water. So if you had a couple different colors, you could color in a little bit different, but I kind of like how it stamps. You can still see the stamped outline, and then you can see that watercolor effect. Then you can always do some splatters. And two, if you felt like you wanted to stop way before this, you could totally, but you could even keep going if you felt like you're just having fun with adding those layers. So that's all I'm doing, is adding some splats with the paintbrush by tapping it. And you could even just take a tag and get up that extra color. And we've got a background started that we could add more color to later. And I think once you start doing this, you kind of have other ideas like, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? Thanks, Michelle. I'm glad you made it. This is the Avriel white ink spray, and I saw that this is back in the shop. So it's got a little mixing ball in it. And we did some stuff where we sprayed it, but honestly, I think that my favorite thing to do with this is do the white splatters. So it just has such a really neat effect. So we've got our little splatters on there. And just by adding those little details, I was actually using that Tim Holtz, what's that spray that sprays on and it doesn't ever leave, and I got it on my daughter's, like, her favorite cup, and she's like, what is this? I'm like, yeah, that's not coming off. But this stuff is water cleanup, and so you can just clean it up with water. Then all I really did was, so we've got some twine here. This is May Arts twine, and there's actually a whole bunch of different colors in the store. Yeah, I think splatters. Michelle, yes, I used the jelly plate for the background. So I did the powders, the Shimmer Shaker powders, And that was Michelle's idea when we chatted earlier this week. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll try that. And then I went over it with Distress Oxides. These embellishments, I put this cluster together and just glued them. These are actually left over last week. I think we looked at the card kit, the Simple Stories card kit, and then I actually put together the Simple Stories scrapbook layout kit, which I'll show you here in a second. But these are all left over from those kits. So if you have some embellishments or ephemera or stickers, this is a great way to use those up. So I just grabbed a few things and layered them together, and we'll glue that on. Yes, definitely catch the replay, because I used them with the clear gesso, but one of the samples I tried without, so it works either way. Okay, so I'm really liking this Nouveau Deluxe adhesive. I like both this and the Art Glitter glue. And we'll just glue that on. And I even found my little stapler. I need to get a good stapler, but this one was okay for the time being, and added a little staple. I really think like it's just those little details that, you know, your eye just kind of goes around the card or the tag, and there's so many fun things to look at. So this is a little chipboard butterfly. I'm really feeling spring, or it's feeling so much like spring. I'm really looking forward to it. This one is a sequin mix by Picket Fence. They have a bunch of different sequin mixes. This one is Spring Fling. So it's really pretty greens and iridescent colors. And I'm going to attempt, it looks like I'm doing some kind of surgery or something with all these tools. All right, I'm gonna attempt to pick these up with this because I was finding it was getting stuck to my fingers. So we'll just put some glue on. This really holds your sequins well as well. So I'm using this pick-me-up stick, but I think, what's this one called? Jewel Picker. I don't know if we have any in the store right now, but they're quite handy. When I remember, sometimes I forget to grab it, and then I think, oh, I'll just use my hand. And I think I didn't get enough glue on there. There we go. We'll put a couple more on. You could also use your Nouveau, the Dream Drops or Glitter Drops with the sequins or separately. And we'll add a couple more up here and then we'll be done. Do you guys like using sequins? Do you find that you do? Or do you use other embellishments instead, like glitter drops. I'm actually really liking both. I think I'm gonna put one more down here. Okay, so we've got our sequins on. Then we can take our ribbon, we'll check, we may have to dry it a little bit more. Yeah, it's still a little bit wet. So I'm gonna dab some of the water out. And you could either just leave that to dry for a couple hours, or you can definitely use your heat gun, it doesn't affect it. Yeah, Michelle, I use those as well. I love using those for embellishments. So that's not going to be completely dry, but it's dry enough. So, Lorraine, thanks. So yeah, I have used them on the front of cards. Sometimes I will give a tag to someone instead of a card. So I'll put my message, stamp it on the back, or just write my message out on the back. And if I'm giving like a gift, I'll put this on as a tag in place of a card. You can put them in mixed media journals. You could glue them to the front of any kind of notebook, or that would be nice as well if you're giving a gift, like a notebook as a gift or something. You could totally put that on the front. You can hang them up and do a little wall hanging with different tags. I think there's lots that you can definitely do with them. You can even use them, I've used them on scrapbook pages before to, like, I've created the tag and then just use that as my embellishment beside my photos. So all I did was tie that little twine on. And Sheila says, you like sequins, they're hard to use without getting glue everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, I find it is easier, like if you have something like the Nuvo or the Art Glitter Glue and you just put your little piece in and then you have something that you can grab the gem with instead of trying to get it on with your finger, because then I find I'm stuck with sequins all over me. And then I would just take this and scrunch it up and let it dry completely, but it just has a really, there you can see the glitter in that. Isn't that pretty? I love that luster polish. Oh yeah, okay, I think I answered your question. Yeah, dye on a gift bag. And I bet if you looked under in Pinterest, things to do with the gift tag, or like I bet there's other ideas that we haven't even thought of. So yeah, that was, I mean, I talked through that all, so, but that was, you know, you can have one done relatively quick. You could definitely create a few while you were doing that. Katie likes to decorate the gift bag to match. Yeah, that would be nice. And the tag can be reused. Thanks, Katie. So we've got our gift tag. We've got the start of other backgrounds that we can then have in our stash. I have a whole drawer of tags. I have to figure out what I want to do with those backgrounds. Like, I feel like I need some way to organize them. I'm okay for them to be in a place right now until I need them, but I'm thinking maybe I need to organize them by color, because I really like grabbing them for card bases or to die cut out of. This is my original tag that I dipped in both of the colors rather than doing them separately. So you definitely get some different ideas. And I'm going to, before I sign off here, I was going to show you that scrapbook page kit, because it's very pretty and super easy. So depending on if you wanted a project, you could just sit in front of the TV. The other night I pulled it out. Everything is, you just punch it out. You could do it on like a Zoom call with your friends, or send it to a friend who is new to scrapbooking and wants to get into scrapbooking. So it's the Simple Pages Dreamer Page Kit, and it makes 4 pages. So those are the 4 pages. And it comes with, so you've got your bases that are pre-printed. So you don't have to cut and figure out where you want to layer. It actually is printed on there. Then you've got your pages. So you've got 3 12 by 12 pages that are full of your pieces that you punch out. So your ephemera and your die cuts and your borders. And then you have also a chipboard sheet that you punch out. And then it tells you exactly what to do on each page and how to layer it out. So you can, the same way as we did those cards, you can either put them on exactly how it says, or you could totally change it up, or you can, I followed the directions, but I actually added some foam tape to different areas, and I added some of the Nuvo Dream Drops and some of the crystal glaze. So that's the glaze in there, and then that would be the Dream Drops. They are beautiful. So I think someone would look at this and just think like, wow, how amazing that you put this layout together. I think it's incredible, and it really did not take me any time at all. So this and this page go together. Yes, I keep looking at that, Sheila, thank you. I'm gonna move that because I feel like it totally is gonna get stuck to something. There. Or I'm gonna stick something in the ink. So this is the left and the right, and it's hard to get a complete view on the angle my camera is right now, but you've got, I put the little white pieces in. You could wait and put your photos in when you're making it, or you could make it and then put photos in on top. Thanks, Virginia. And then I just added a little bit of foam tape. I've got some more of that crystal glaze there, some more of the Dream Drops. And also I think I may try some layouts using this layout, but with my own paper. I think would be cool. And then this is the right side. And I just kind of wanted to give you an idea. We won't go through and do it right now, but just following the directions. All I did was layer on the borders. Then it tells you where to place this mat. I put in the white photo mat behind it. Also, if you had smaller photos that you wanted to add to that, I think that would be totally fine. And then you just layer on the flowers where it tells you and your little pieces, and you're good to go. So I think the longest thing was just punching it all out, figuring what went with what. And then I still had all of these, plus some of the product that I used for the tags. Some came from that lovely card kit and some came from here, but you could totally make another layout or just do some tags or cards with what was left over. Yeah, I think it is a really fun layout idea. I would totally scrap lift that. Anyway, that's all I have for you today, but I hope you guys had fun. If you try out the tag, I would love to see it. You can definitely post that. Thanks, Sandy. You can post that in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group. Thanks for the hearts. And we still have our challenge going on for March, which I think is Shine, if I remember correctly. And just do anything that has the challenges in the group. So if I'm incorrect, you will find out what it is. I think it's Shine. Oh, the new magazine releases tomorrow, and we do have to say congratulations to Tamara because she got a gorgeous project in there. So you'll definitely have to check that out. It's amazing. And yeah, so there's lots of fun new things in the shop. Have a look under new and you'll see what's in there. And we'd love to see what you're up to in the group. Let us know if you have any questions about anything, and I hope you guys have fun crafting and have some fun time over the weekend. Time to yourself. Thanks, Lorraine. Thanks, Rosie. Oh, shine. Good. Something shiny. All right, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.